She was glowing, just 48 hours into her marriage. A neighbor remembered seeing her that morning, barefoot, in a silk robe, laughing on the phone, mail in one hand, coffee in the other. Nothing felt out of place, until she stopped answering calls. By noon, someone knocked, then knocked again. The door was unlocked, and what they found behind it was something no one in that quiet Maryland suburb was prepared for. A crime so sudden, so personal, it raised just one question. Who did this? And why so soon after I do? Welcome to Evil Crime Cases. Thanks for subscribing to our channel. Please like and share our videos, and don't forget to share your thoughts in the comment section. Now let's get back to the details of the case. August 19th, 2024, a Monday evening. Inside the two-story brick home at 108 Briarstone Lane, a woman lies dead on the hardwood floor of the living room. Her name is Ashley Brooks George, 28, school counselor, just married. 48 hours ago, she was barefoot on a dance floor, twirling under string lights. Now, she's motionless, her white dress discarded in the bedroom, her wedding ring still on her finger, and still warm. A single .45 caliber round to the chest, and a half-full glass of red wine shattered at her side. The rug soaks up what the wine couldn't hide. Sam George, her husband of 2 days, is outside in handcuffs. His shirt is stained, red on the front, wet the collar. He's pacing, not screaming. He asks the same question over and over. Is she okay? Is she okay? The officers don't answer. To the neighbors, it doesn't make sense. There was no yelling, no crash, no struggle. Just one sharp sound, like a door slamming or something worse. Ashley's mother is the one who called 911. She arrived unexpectedly, with leftover reception flowers and a bottle of champagne. Instead, she found her daughter slumped against the wall, barefoot, eyes wide open. Her veil was still on the sofa. There were no threats, no reported history of violence. They had no known enemies. In fact, Camille had just posted a photo on Instagram, captioned, "Wife Life Begins." God is good. That post was less than 23 hours old. A freshly opened bottle, a quiet house, a single shot, and a groom with no explanation. Was this a tragic accident, a confrontation gone too far, or something far more deliberate? Or maybe the better question is, how long had this been coming? This wasn't just a marriage that ended too soon. This was a puzzle with missing edges, secrets tucked beneath wedding lace, and Bible verses. The ring was still warm. But who pulled the trigger on a woman who just got wedded in less than 48 hours? Let's go back some years before they met and see who Sam was. This takes us back to year 2018 in Atlanta, a small apartment off Old National Highway. Sam George, 29, was sitting on a hand-me-down sofa with his head in his hands when the knock came. UPS, a cardboard box on a welcome mat. No note, no name, just her handwriting across the top. Inside, her wedding ring, some photos from their trip to Savannah, and the hoodie she used to steal from his side of the bed. The same one he hadn't worn in weeks. 2 months earlier, Sam had been laid off from the IT firm that promised him stability. 1 month earlier, his wife started working late. 2 weeks before the box arrived, she'd gone to visit her mother and never came back. She never said goodbye. No arguments. No slamming doors. Sam never told anyone how long he sat there staring at the box before opening it. But the next time anyone saw him, his beard had grown out, his voicemail was full, and the playlist he'd made for her was deleted. Friends said he changed after that. He used to be the first to show up to help you move. The guy who brought tools when he visited, just in case. He was always the quiet one. Chill, gentle, too damn forgiving, as his cousin Jalen put it. But after she left, something hardened. He didn't date for 2 years. Not even a coffee. He'd tell people it was about healing. But those close to him knew the truth. Sam was afraid of loving someone who still had one foot in another room. That's why he made his one rule. Never date anyone who's still emotionally tied to an ex. Not someone who mentions "my baby daddy" in every conversation. Not someone who still follows their ex on Facebook. Not someone who keeps old voicemails, just in case. Sam had loved blind before. He wasn't going to do it again. And then Ashley came along. They met in the break room of a new tech support job he picked up downtown. She was charming, confident, quick with a joke, the kind of woman who touched your arm when she laughed. She told him up front that she'd been through some mess, but she also said she was done with it. Moved on. Divorced. Sam hesitated. He checked her Facebook one night. Her ex was still tagged in old posts, but she said she just hadn't gotten around to cleaning it up. She didn't talk much about her past, and when she did, it always ended with, "But that's behind me." Sam wanted to believe her, because by then, he was tired of being alone. He was tired of heating dinner for one, tired of friends asking if he was over it yet, tired of pretending that the silence in his apartment didn't feel like punishment. So he broke his rule. He ignored the voice that told him to wait, to ask more questions, to look closer. And when his cousin Jalen pulled him aside one night and said, "Bro, something's off with her," "I can feel it," Sam just laughed. He said, "You don't know her like I do." But maybe he didn't either. Because just a few years later, the woman he thought had healed from her past would end up dead in his house, still wearing the ring he gave her. And the question would haunt everyone who knew him. What did Sam really see in Ashley? And what did he choose not to see? And was it Sam or someone else that pulled the trigger that night? That's something detectives must work hard to uncover. Sam's first impression of Ashley Benson was simple. She smiled too easily. Not the forced kind, not the fake kind, but the kind that seemed trained like muscle memory, learned from surviving too much. She was 27, a retail manager at a mid-tier clothing store near Buckhead. Slim frame, warm eyes, low voice. Always offering to help, quick with a compliment, dressed with just enough effort to suggest confidence, but not enough to raise questions. Mother to 6-year-old Ava. No known criminal record. No glaring social media presence. Just enough history to seem safe. Since they met, she laughed at Sam's dad jokes. Called him genuine. Said she wasn't looking for drama. Just peace. She even told him, "You look like someone who's earned a second chance." Sam felt seen. Understood. Or maybe just needed. Ashley mentioned her ex, David Hall, exactly once. She said, "We co-parent. He's not in the picture much. That's all. No bitterness. No stories. No timeline." That should have been a flag. But flags don't look red when you're hoping for green. And Ava? Quiet. Soft-spoken. She flinched when Sam sneezed. Always looked at the door, never the person talking. Sam figured she was just shy. Ashley never brought up her daughter's bedtime habits. But Sam noticed the light in her room stayed on all night, even when she was asleep. She never mentioned why Ava didn't like elevators, or why she always asked to lock the car doors twice. One time, Ava whispered to Sam on the way home from school, "I don't like loud shoes." Sam didn't understand what she meant. Not then. Ashley was guarded, but not cold. Warm, but practiced. She was never surprised by compliments, but never seemed to expect them either. Friends said they were a good match, that she was a calming presence. Sam agreed. She didn't push. She didn't dig. She didn't question him about his ex-wife, or what really happened in the marriage. That silence felt like peace. But later, it would feel like concealment. Ava's bedroom had a princess bed, glitter curtains, and 2 locks on the door, inside and out. Sam assumed it was just overprotectiveness. But who was protecting who? One morning, Ava came to breakfast with a small, dark bruise on her upper arm. Sam asked about it. Ashley said, "She fell off the slide. She's clumsy like her dad." That was the first time she mentioned David again. Her voice didn't shift. Her tone didn't crack. But something about the word dad landed strange in the air. Later, when Sam helped carry groceries inside, he noticed a folded letter on Ashley's hallway table. He only caught the header before she snatched it away. It read, "Georgia DFCS. Mandatory appearance." Ashley never answered when Sam asked what she did before retail. Her reply, "I just needed a reset. It's good to have a job where nobody knows your business." There was no online trail of her prior address. Just a short lease, a closed Facebook account, a deleted Instagram handle. But people don't vanish cleanly. Not without reason. Sam didn't want to investigate the woman who made him feel safe. He wanted to believe her. But his gut kept circling back to Ava. Do people ever truly move on from the past? Or do they just get better at hiding it? And when you love someone, how much truth are you willing to ignore? In the early months, it looked like a family portrait. Sam was the one who picked Ava up from school. He took her to birthday parties. He sat through every Saturday morning dance class, sometimes the only man in the room. They even had a morning routine. She'd hop into the back seat with a juice pouch, tell him what color her tutu was, and ask what songs her mom liked when she was little. Sam didn't correct her when she called him dad. He just smiled and said, "You're my whole world too, baby girl." But even in a full house, you can feel the cold in the walls. At bedtime, Ava would ask for a story, and then ask if Daddy Dave ever read it to her first. Ashley never stopped her. She'd just say, "Let's not bring up the past right now." Every time Ava spoke his name, Ashley changed the subject. At first, he told himself it was normal, a man marrying into another man's family, but began to sting, not because of Ava, but because of the silence that followed her words. He started to feel like he was parenting in someone else's shadow, like David hadn't left. He just stepped into another room. The photos in the hallway were mostly of Ava and Ashley, none with Sam. One morning, he noticed a small box on the top shelf of Ashley's closet, dusty but recently moved. Inside, old framed pictures, a dry corsage, a letter in handwriting he didn't recognize. He never mentioned it. Ava had a spring recital at her dance school. Sam took the day off, brought flowers, sat in the front row. When the music started, he raised his phone to record her, only to feel a presence behind him. Someone else was filming too. He turned. David. David was sitting 3 rows behind, alone, wearing sunglasses indoors. Sam froze, not because David was there, but because Ashley didn't look surprised. When the recital ended, Ashley walked Ava to the lobby, holding her hand tight. Sam hung back, watched. That's when he saw it. Ashley and David locking eyes. A nod. Not dramatic, not flirtatious, just practiced, familiar, like a secret past without words. That night, Sam didn't eat dinner. He sat on the edge of the bed, watching Ashley brush her teeth. He wanted to ask, did you know he was coming? He didn't. Instead, he waited for her to fall asleep. At 12:47 a.m., he unlocked her phone with her birthday, scrolled past the usual apps, opened messages, nothing suspicious. Then he checked her call logs. There it was. Dr. Ferguson, 7 minutes, last Tuesday. Sam blinked. Ashley didn't have a doctor's appointment last week. Something else bothered him. He clicked the contact. No message history. No attachments. Just a number. He copied it. Opened Google. The number didn't belong to any doctor. It was registered to a prepaid phone in Douglasville. Sometimes you know you're the second choice. Sometimes you suspect you're just a placeholder. But what happens when you realize you're parenting another man's child, and maybe raising another man's family? What happens when you're the one on the lease, but someone else still has the key? Sam didn't confront her. Not that night. He copied the number, sent it to his friend Terrence, a police dispatcher who owed him a favor. By morning, he had a name. The phone belonged to David Whitaker. But what was worse was the pattern of calls. Late nights, random Thursdays, weekends when Sam had gone to see his mom. Sam sat at the kitchen table staring at the call log, Ava's cereal bowl still full across from him. Was this just a bond they never severed, or something that had never ended in the first place? Sam asked her to marry him, not because he was sure, but because he was scared he'd never be. Ashley smiled, teared up, and said yes. But instead of jumping into planning like he'd imagined, Ashley leaned in, cupped his face, and whispered, "Let's keep it small. Just family. I don't want the attention." She called it a quiet ceremony. She said love didn't need a stage. She said she just wanted to be his wife. No drama, no noise. To Sam, it sounded romantic. To others, it sounded like a burial. It wasn't just small, it was secret. No registry. No invitations. No posted announcement. Her friends didn't come. Even her sister, whom Sam had met twice, didn't respond. When Sam's mother asked why Ashley's side was so empty, Ashley simply said, "My circle's tight. That's all." But tight isn't the same as invisible. Sam's mother, Clara, pulled him aside after rehearsal dinner, held in their apartment, over takeout. She didn't waste words. You barely know her. I don't trust it. She don't even look happy. Sam laughed it off. Ma, please. She's just overwhelmed. But Clara didn't smile. She's hiding something. And you know it. He didn't know. But knowing and acting aren't the same thing. The ceremony happened on a cloudy Thursday. A courthouse officiant. A gazebo at Chattahoochee River Park. Ashley wore a simple off-white dress. No veil. Rings exchanged, just vows. Ava handed Sam a small box as they were packing up. Inside, a bracelet, engraved. Family is forever. Love, Daddy Dave. Ashley said nothing. She didn't even react. Just took the bracelet, put it in her purse, and started folding chairs. That night, back at their apartment, Sam couldn't sleep. Ashley was quiet, unusually still, almost robotic. Then, her phone rang. She answered in the kitchen, whispering. Then she grabbed her car keys. I need to take care of something at work, she said. It's payroll stuff. I won't be long. She didn't offer more. She didn't kiss him goodbye. 20 minutes. That's how long she was gone. When she returned, she smelled faintly of cigar smoke. Not hers. She didn't say anything. Just changed clothes and went to bed. The next morning, Sam woke before her. He stared at her face, peaceful, soft, and he couldn't decide if it looked like home or a stranger's. He walked to the window. Ashley's car was still running from the night before. The glove box was slightly open. He reached in. 2 receipts. One from a Shell gas station at 11:42 p.m. Another, more surprising, from a liquor store on Campbellton Road, paid in cash at 12:04 a.m. She had told him she never drinks. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe she just needed air. Maybe the job called, and she answered. But Sam couldn't unsee it now. The hush at her voice. The way she looked away when he said, forever. The fact that he had married a woman who didn't post one single photo about it. That morning, Sam got his truck. He waited 3 blocks away from the apartment. Engine off. And when Ashley pulled out of the driveway, he followed. He thought he was just being paranoid. He had no idea he was driving straight into someone else's alibi. On August 18th, 42 hours after their wedding, the coffee in Sam's hand had already gone cold. He'd been parked down the block for nearly 20 minutes. No music, no movement, just him, watching. Ashley had told him she was heading to her aunt's for brunch, but her car never turned toward Westlake. Instead, it slid quietly into a shaded parking lot behind a small cafe in East Point, a place Sam had never heard her mention. And he had heard her mention a lot. But this wasn't about brunch. Not anymore. From his seat across the street, Sam watched her car idle briefly before shutting off. 10 seconds passed. Then the passenger door opened. She didn't even lock it. And then, a silver Lexus pulled up beside her. Same Lexus Sam had seen at the wedding. David's. There was no hesitation on her part. She stepped out of the car like she was greeting an old lover in a dream. Loose joggers, oversized hoodie, hair tied back, not like someone meeting family, like someone keeping a secret. And that's when Sam reached into the glove box and pulled out the camera. It wasn't a phone. It wasn't digital. It was his old Sony handheld, the kind he'd used when filming their engagement dinner in the mountains. The same camera Ashley had once called obsessive. Now it would be the last lens he'd ever look at her through. He focused in. The grain of the image made it all feel worse, like a memory forming before it even finished happening. They stood near the Lexus for a while, talking, too close. Her hand brushed David's shoulder. He laughed. She looked at the ground, then back up. The moment felt endless, like betrayal had its own clock. And then it happened. David's hand slid up under her hoodie. She didn't flinch. Their mouths found each other like they'd done it 100 times before. They disappeared inside the Lexus. Sam kept filming. For a moment. Then stopped. His hands were steady. His stomach wasn't. He never got out of the car. He didn't scream or cry. He didn't knock on the window or yank open the door. He just sat there and watched. You think you know the person standing across from you at the altar, but you don't. You just know the person they showed you in doses, until the dosage stops working. That night, the house was quiet. Sam walked through it like a stranger. The floors still smelled like rose petals and spilled champagne. On the bathroom counter, her toothbrush, their honeymoon itinerary, unopened sunscreen. He turned on the faucet, watched the water run, pulled off his wedding band, held it in his palm for a long time. Then, in one swift motion, he let it fall. The ring made a soft metallic sound as it landed in the porcelain sink. He didn't eat dinner, didn't turn on the lights, just sat at the kitchen table, staring at nothing. But at exactly 9:44 p.m., he heard keys at the door. Ashley walked in, smiling, shopping bag in hand. Same hoodie, no guilt. She set the bag on the counter, kissed him on the forehead. "Hey baby," she said. "You okay?" Sam looked up from the table, nodded slowly. "Yeah," he said. And that was it. No confrontation, no mention of David, no questions, no lies. She sat beside him and started scrolling through her phone, laughing at something on Instagram, as if nothing had happened. But something had, and it wasn't the kiss, or the car, or the lies. It was the silence. She came home that night like nothing happened. That's what made it worse. You just filmed your wife cheating with the man who toasted your marriage. She walks through the door hours later and kisses your forehead. Would you confront her, or would you say nothing and make her believe you never knew? The next morning before she woke up, Sam was already up, wearing his usual gray joggers and a black undershirt. The house was silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. He made breakfast, scrambled eggs, turkey bacon, cinnamon toast with butter, lightly burnt on one side, the same way Ashley liked it. He set her plate on the table. Then Ava's. Then his. Ashley came downstairs minutes later, still half asleep in a silk robe. She looked at him, confused. "Why you acting brand new?" she asked, teasing but cautious. He smiled gently. "Thought I'd feed my girls right." She kissed him on the cheek, then sat. He poured orange juice, sat across from them, ate quietly, watched them chew, studied them like it was the last time he ever would. Because for Sam George, it was. He kissed Ashley on the forehead as she scrolled her phone. "See you after work," he said. Only, he didn't go to work. Instead, he drove past the exit for I-285, taking a hard left onto a rural backroad lined with pine trees and rusted mailboxes. He pulled into a parking lot outside a gun shop he hadn't visited in 3 years. He used to come here to shoot at targets. Alone. Back when he believed routine could fix pain. Today, he didn't go to the range. He walked in, bought a box of .45 hollow points with cash. No words. No eye contact. Then he sat in his car, engine off, parked beneath a creaking oak tree. He pulled out his phone, opened his banking app, transferred $2,300 to Ava's college fund, the last bit of money in his savings. Then opened notes, typed out 28 words. "She took everything but my life. I'm about to take that back. For Ava. For the man I used to be." He didn't sign it, just left it open. When his ex-wife filed for divorce, he didn't argue. When she took the house and threatened to fight for full custody, he didn't scream. When she laughed at him for wanting marriage counseling, he didn't react. At 9:32 a.m., in a Waffle House, he sat in the corner booth, ate a pecan waffle and bacon, left a 20 under his cup. The waitress would later say, he looked emptied, like he had nothing left but manners. No one noticed the black leather bag at his feet. No one noticed the glint of steel beneath the zipper. By 10:48 a.m., he was outside the house. He sat in his truck across the street for nearly an hour, watched as a postal worker passed, watched Ashley laugh on the phone through the living room window, wine in hand. Early. Too early for wine. He didn't hate her, but he no longer recognized her. She wore a silk head wrap, loose tank top, no bra. Comfortable, carefree, unworried. He used to love that ease about her. Now, it made his stomach twist. He realized that she was already living like he was gone. By 12:03 p.m., he had reached the threshold. He unlocked the door. Quietly. Ashley turned from the couch, surprised but not alarmed. "Forgot something?" she asked. He didn't answer. She smiled, raised her wine glass. "Well, damn, you're back early." He nodded, placed his keys on the counter. She noticed the bag then. Her smile faltered. "Sam." He didn't yell, didn't shake. His hands were steady. He walked past her and sat on the armchair across from her. Just two people in a house that used to feel like home. He looked at her face like it was a portrait of someone he'd once loved. then reached into the bag. Her breath hitched. A neighbor across the street would later tell police. I heard something. One pop. Like a backfire or firework. But just one. My husband said, ignore it, probably nothing. Now I can't stop thinking, what if I went outside? When he walked and the weapon was already loaded. A .40 caliber Smith & Wesson. It had never been fired in real life. Only on the range. But today it was the answer to a question he hadn't fully formed until that exact moment. He raised the gun. Steady. No shaking. No yelling. No demand for an explanation. He fired once. Then again. The sound cracked through the quiet like thunder under glass. Ashley never screamed. Never moved. The first shot hit her just above the collarbone. The second, lower, center mass. She slumped sideways, eyes still open. Blood spilled across the white robe like red wine on snow. Next door, her mother jolted. Ava was on the floor playing with dolls, giggling. She thought it was fireworks. 12 minutes later, squad cars pulled up. One officer later testified that Sam was already waiting outside when they arrived. Hands raised, gun on the sidewalk. He didn't resist. Didn't speak until he was cuffed. And even then, it wasn't rage that leaked through. It wasn't regret. Just one sentence, barely louder than a whisper. She was already gone. I just made it official. Officers found the murder weapon, registered to Sam, laid neatly on the floor, magazine ejected, safety on. The wine glass still stood, untouched. Her phone had dropped between the couch cushions, screen cracked but still lit. A notification hovered on the lock screen. See you tonight, love T. Forensics noted that Ashley died instantly. The first bullet tore through her clavicle and severed the subclavian artery. Death within seconds. The second bullet, they said, was unnecessary. But it wasn't about necessity. It was about punctuation. In his holding cell that night, Sam didn't ask for a lawyer. He asked for a Bible. When the detective slid it across the table, Sam stared at it, but didn't open it. I built a house, he said. A family. A legacy. And she bulldozed it because she got bored. He blinked once, then said nothing else. To the public, it looked simple. Man finds out wife cheated. Snaps. Kills her. Case closed. But detectives weren't convinced. Because something didn't line up. Ashley had changed her phone passcode just days earlier. Her financial records showed a transfer of $5,000 to an untraceable crypto wallet. And inside her drawer, hidden behind Ava's baby photos, was an envelope. Inside, there was no cash. Just a copy of a prenup Sam never signed. And a note. 6 words. Written in Ashley's handwriting. You'd kill me if you knew. What didn't Sam know? And more importantly, who was T? Because the man she died for wasn't who he claimed to be. And, at the trial, everything would crack open. There's no good seat in a courtroom when you're watching the people you love tear each other apart. On December 3rd, after 3 weeks of arguments, the jury returns with a unanimous verdict. Second-degree murder. Sam stands motionless as the foreman reads it. No gasp. No reaction. Just a man who seems to have already been serving a sentence. Long before handcuffs ever touched his skin. The judge speaks with deliberation. 35 years. Eligible for parole after 18. Ashley's mother sobs. David lowers his head. Ava, watching the live stream from a counseling center, turns away when the camera pans to her father. 2 weeks later, Ava receives a letter, mailed from Fulton County Jail. I'm sorry I couldn't be better. I thought love was enough. But love doesn't survive lies. I wanted to build something real. I never realized I was the only one still building. Ashley is buried in Marietta, beside her grandmother, the only person she ever said truly understood her. Not next to Sam, not with an open casket. David stands at the edge, holding Ava's hand. He whispers something to her the cameras can't pick up, but someone else is watching from the back. A woman in sunglasses, black gloves, and a subtle tremor in her posture. In the weeks after the trial, journalists dig deeper. Phone records reveal something curious. Ashley had called an unknown number 27 times the week before the wedding. That number? A prepaid burner, traced back to a coworker at the law firm where she interned briefly during grad school. Whispers begin to spread. Was there a third man? Or something Ashley was running from? Something that made even David uneasy? Grief has a way of sending people back into the quiet corners of a life that no longer exists, pulling open drawers, flipping through boxes, searching not just for meaning, but for pieces, for proof that the person you loved, the person who died, was real and not a stranger in disguise. 3 months after Ashley's funeral, her sister Kendra went to her house to clean out her things. At the bottom of a closet shelf, tucked behind a stack of novels and an old shoebox of cassette tapes, she found something that wasn't supposed to be there. A second phone. One Ashley never mentioned. Not to her mother. Not to Sam. Not even to David. It was an older iPhone. Low battery. No case. The SIM card was still inside. No passcode. The text inside. They open a second life. Meet me by the garage again, Blackheart. He'll never know. I'll delete this in 5. Coded messages. Intimate photos. Short videos. Most of them were time-stamped between midnight and 2 a.m. Hours when David believed Ashley was asleep beside him, or when Sam thought she was out with friends. The contact had no name, just a single letter, E. Investigators submitted the phone for digital forensics. Within 72 hours, they discovered the other end of the thread, a burner phone that had pinged a half-mile from Ashley's apartment on 6 separate nights. The number was purchased at a Miami gas station, paid for in cash. No ID, no paper trail, no fingerprints. But the location data told a quiet story. And then, one more anomaly. The last ping from the burner? It connected to a cell tower, 2 hours after Ashley was pronounced dead. Then it went dark. Permanently. Was Ashley cheating? Manipulating 2 men, while secretly speaking to a third? Or was she trapped, desperately trying to escape one world by creating another? And if E was more than just a secret, was he the secret worth dying for? Because here's the fracture point. David thought she was planning a future. Sam thought she was regretting her past. But what if both of them were just placeholders?